right, Joe, you ready? All right, good evening. Adequate notice of the May 12, 2016 meeting has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting written notice and agenda of the meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building, 1000 Route 10, Township of Hanover, and by hand delivering, mailing, or faxing such notice and agenda to the following newspapers: the Daily Record, the Star Ledger, the Hanover Eagle, and by filing the same with the Township Clerk.
On roll call, Committeeman Gallagher.
Here.
Committeeman Bruno.
Here.
Committeeman Capola.
Here.
And Deputy Mayor Faramasca.
Here.
And Mayor Franzioli is away and excused. 4 members in attendance, sir.
Thank you. For those who can join us, please stand as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Gentlemen, at this time, I have a motion to open the meeting to the public.
Motion. So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Gallagher, second by Mr. Bruno. If there are any members of the public at this time would like to address the Township Committee, please rise and state your full name and address.
Hi, Douglas Falcone, 21 Hilltop Circle, Morristown, New Jersey.
Good evening.
Good evening, thank you. I'm here this evening to discuss an ordinance that was changed, I believe, this year. The ordinance is 17-2015. I'm the president of Douglas Properties. I own 622, 628 Route 10, as well as 9 Whippany Road. Own both properties approximately 5 years. About 300,000 square feet of space, making up of multi-tenanted uses. The ordinance, I don't know if you're familiar with it, I'm sure you are, changed the use of what type of uses could be next to each other. We've had several applications turned down because of the language that's being used. And it's becoming a real problem because a lot of the brokers won't even bring tenants to us because they don't understand it, and the applications are being turned down. The current situation, we have a manufacturer, or it's a assembly company that just takes a very small wireless device and assembles pieces that are made elsewhere. It was a 5-employee company. It was turned down. I asked people in the building department, and anyone else would come down to see the location, and nobody would go look at the location. They had a current CO in the town, and they were next to a kiddie academy, which is a 7-day-a-week operation, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and they share the same building. My property has a dance studio 5 doors down, which operates in the evenings and the weekends. So I'm not sure what the ordinance was adjusted for, the reasons for it, and maybe I could get that reasoning.
Okay.
But it.
All right. Mr. Branchow, would you care to provide a little bit more background on the ordinance? But before you begin, from a planning standpoint, the township places significant effort to try to preserve safety. And that's the job number one for the members of the Township Committee, as well as members of the Planning Board. Mr. Branchow, though, is in a position to provide a little bit more background and direction on the ordinance.
The ordinance in question is Chapter 166, Section 115F. And although the ordinance was amended in 2015, it's been on the books for actually a number of years. The amendment added certain uses to the list, but the basic purpose of the section of the code is, in certain locations, in certain zones, we allow a wide range of uses that may or may not fit together on the property, work together well, where one use on the property could conflict with another use, or be a safety concern to another use, or be a nuisance concern to another use. And the whole purpose of the ordinance was to require that those uses can work well together. The ordinance does not completely prohibit the uses. It only requires that when those types of uses are on the same property or in the same building, that they have to go to the board and demonstrate that they work. And basically, there's two columns, column A and column B, and the types of uses on one column that have to work with other uses include industrial and manufacturing uses, wholesale trade, construction operations, building trade contractors, construction equipment, leasing and storage, truck depots, distribution facilities, truck storage, warehousing, motor vehicle repair and servicing, public utility stations and yards, and similar uses to that. Those uses, when they are combined with other uses, raise potential concerns. And I say potential. They don't always result in concerns, but again, there's potential. The uses in column B, that if they're with what I just read, is what requires you to go to the board. There's amusement and recreation services, including but not limited to dance studios, martial arts studios, tennis clubs, physical fitness centers, and other indoor physical fitness facilities. Health services, including but not limited to medical offices. Educational service and social services, including but not limited to schools, child care centers, counseling services, and unemployment services. Membership organizations like clubs, including but not limited to nonprofit organizations and houses of worship, and other services that are similar to that. So what it's saying is when you have these manufacturing, construction, trucking operations on the same site as, say, a child care center or a place where people go for physical fitness or for martial arts and things like that, or for a school or for those types of uses, there's a potential for the two to conflict. And so to make sure that they don't, the ordinance requires that you go to the board and demonstrate that they don't. And that would include looking at issues like parking adequacy, looking at issues of whether there's trucking or outdoor storage, or whether there's operations that produce vibration, odors, smoke, or otherwise that would interfere with the other uses, and vice versa, where if a child care center were to go there and now all of a sudden you've got children coming to and from the building in an area where there's trucking or outdoor storage of equipment or outdoor operations or even indoor stuff that could affect the use. It's more of a trying to make sure that that doesn't raise issues that would be either unsafe or unhealthy or basically a nuisance to the different uses, and that's what it's for.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Branchow.
You're welcome.
Mr. Falcone, if you'd like, I'll ask Mr. Branchow, who's the township planner, to make a copy of that ordinance.
I have it.
You have a copy? Okay.
The problem with going in front of the board is it takes, these are 2,000 square foot units. Many tenants that I've put an application in, it takes 30 days just to get through the town building department to get the use without permits, without construction plans, and so on. If it has to go in front of the board, it's going to be much longer than that. These tenants don't have that long to wait. Historically, the properties run a 5% vacancy rate. I've been a tenant there for 18 years. I've owned it for almost 5 years, and I've got the prior history of the tenancy. I'm running almost 30% vacancy because of this. And brokers in the community are not bringing potential tenants to us because they'll go to the path of least resistance. Right down the street, next town, there's none of these the same type of issues. And if the town had a 30% tax deficit coming in, it would be a financial crisis. It is to me. And I asked everybody in the building department and many people in the town to just come down and look at what this tenant does. This was the cleanest use. This has nothing to do with, they use FedEx and UPS. There's no tractor trailers. They've got less volume. The units sold for $7,000 a piece. They sell 10 a month. There's not a big company. But nobody could come down and take a look. And I just found that astounding.
Well, Ms. Falcone, I'm sorry that you're experiencing the vacancy. We're trying to help you. We offer you the opportunity, if you want a copy of this ordinance, we'll gladly make it available to you. If you want to present to the planning board, we will ensure that your case gets on to the planning board agenda.
But if it's a case-by-case basis, I can't go through the financial burden of lawyers and the time restraint. The tenants will not stay with me.
I totally understand the situation, and
So
we
let's go-
empathize with you. However, as I said earlier, it's the responsibility of this board, it's the responsibility of the planning board to ensure the safety. What the use you're describing, I don't know all the particulars associated with it, and this is not the right forum to discuss it. And I'm sure that if you brought it to the planning board's attention, the planning board would hear your case, and if there are none of the incompatibilities that Mr. Branchow spoke about, it probably would be viewed positively, but I can't rule on a planning board case.
I understand that. Are you saying on a case-by-case basis, bring it to the planning board? A tenant by tenant?
I'm not suggesting on a case-by-case hypothetical basis. You have a good understanding as to ones that you want to bring in front of a board for approval. So I would not submit you come in with a basket full of it. It would be a waste of your time.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying would the planning board look at this to reverse or to adjust the language in that ordinance?
The planning board, at this point in time, has recently put that in the past 24 months for good reasons, with the town planner has shared with you. He shared with you the rationale.
Okay, so what's going to happen is I've got current leases for Greg's Fitness, Edge Wrestling, Williams Fitness, Sharon's Dance Studio, that when these leases come up, I'm not going to renew their lease, because that's the use that's prohibiting all the other people that I have to get in. So I'm just letting that's going to happen.
We cannot tell you how to manage.
I know that. I'm just letting you know the town is not going to have a fitness center. The town is not going to have a dance studio. It's been there 20-some years. I mean, I just think it's crazy. So I'll go through the proper procedure, but I think the brush that was stroked on this language was too broad. I've worked in that 628 Route 10. As I said, I've had my office for many years before I bought the building. There's never been one incident that I know of. And 9 Whippany, the same thing. And I've got more flex space than anybody in town. So I don't know, we can put all these things out to protect everything, but if there's not a problem or an issue to protect, I just don't see it. That's one man's opinion.
Okay. Deputy Mayor, just Mr. Branchow, can I ask you, if this individual in this property had 3 prospective tenants, could he file one application?
Yes, he could.
So that he could do that, like, sort of just one, hopefully it'd be in one evening before the planning board, but he'd have potentially, if he had 3 prospective tenants, he could do that.
Yes.
Maybe that's helpful to know.
I appreciate the help on that, but it doesn't unfortunately happen that way, and the legal expense, a lot of these tenants are $2,000 a month tenants, the legal fees to go through at the time, and they're one-year leases in a lot of instances. It just doesn't pay. My only resort, I'll just have to just not renew the leases in these uses.
What type of language do you think needs to change?
I don't have that right now, but I certainly think it was fine the way it was before. As I said, I've not heard of any incidences of any of the properties on all 3. And I know the owner that I bought it from, and I'm very close, and I even spoke with him. There's never been one incident on the properties even close to this. Now, I understand not putting a kiddie kindergarten next to a Dasco manufacturing with tractor trailers and forklifts. I get that. But FedEx is in our property every day. And some of our uses that would conform are using more FedEx and UPS than somebody else who would not be approved. And this Noise Wave was the one. Noise Wave had a CO in our town with the kiddie kinder next door. And they've since moved out of the town.
Is your issue the uses in the list, or is your issue the procedure of getting approval?
I would say the procedure. See, it's difficult to get a tenant, and by the time you negotiate a lease with lawyers and get everybody to agree, now you would fill out the application for the zoning. That takes 30 to 45 days right there. Now, if I get turned down, I now have to start the new process, which is going in front of the planning board. And that could take, by the time you give notices and so on, and get a lawyer involved.
And again, this is up to the Township Committee to decide. If it were revised to merely require you to go before the board on an informal basis, not as a formal site plan, but on more like a concept review, would that work for you?
Absolutely. And I'm not looking to put tractor trailers next to Sharon's Dance. believe me. And that park does not have any tractor-trailer business to speak of.
So you don't have a problem going with the board, it's the site plan process with the notice and the resolutions and the time
It's
period?
the timing, and I don't know the length of time. Remember, I've already gotten a denial in the building department, and I've got one in there right now that Sean is working hard to try to get it approved, but I know it's going to get turned down. And that doesn't even include the handful that I've had that I just knew were not going to get approved. It's pretty frustrating, and I don't know if there's notice to be given. I didn't even know the ordinance was being modified, adjusted, or anything. I don't know.
The reason for that modification was last year we amended certain zones to allow adult daycare. This state law requires that we allow childcare, but it doesn't require adult, but we amended it to allow adult daycare. And that was basically the reason for the amendment. But there had always been similar language in here. The range of uses got expanded with that amendment. But it had always been there. Not always, but it had been there for a good number of years. It's not new. Maybe that triggered more violations or more issues than it did in the past. I'll have to leave it to the Township Committee how they want to decide to do. I just wanted to understand your issue.
Given the suggestion that the planner has made, the Township Committee will discuss it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Any other member of the public like to address the Township Committee at this time? Seeing none, I'd ask for a motion to close.
Second.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue with the agenda, we have the approval of Township Committee minutes, the regular meeting minutes of April 28th, and the bid committee minutes of May 3rd, 2016. May we have a
Motion to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So approved. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a couple of communications to present to the Township Committee. First is the resignation of John Napolitano as the alternate 2 member of the Board of Health, effective immediately. The second, our part-time public health nurse, Patricia Russamano, has given notice that she will be retiring as of November 1st, 2016. And the third retirement is from Mr. William Brittle, the supervisor of our park maintenance division, advising the Township Committee that he will retire effective July 1st, 2016. Item number D is the tax levy monies that will be due and coming to the Hanover Township Board of Education. The monthly payments will be $2,445,255 during the months of June, July, and August. In September, October, and November, the payments will be $1,528,283 in September and October. November, it'll be $1,833,937.75. And then for the balance of the fiscal school year, between January and May, the tax breakdown of levy monies owed will be $2,037,710 per month. The Regional High School District has also provided its request for the breakdown of tax levy monies, and during fiscal year 2016-2017, payments will be $1,107,461 per month. May we have a motion at this time to accept the resignations for items A, B, and C?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
And then on the breakdown of money, the tax levy monies for the regional and local school districts, may we have a motion for approval? We have a motion?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
So approved. Departmental reports, ladies and gentlemen. The following reports are available for public inspection in the Business Administrator Township Clerk's Office. They include the report of the Township's Human Resource Specialist for all activities conducted during the month of April. Superintendent of the Public Works, Buildings and Grounds, and Park Maintenance Department has submitted his reports on all activities and projects conducted by the department during April 2016. we have the report of the property maintenance officer on all activities conducted by the property maintenance officer during the months of April up through today, May 12th. And finally, we have the capital project status report submitted by the township engineer as of today, May 12th, 2016. As we continue, ladies and gentlemen, we have one ordinance for introduction this evening. It is docketed as ordinance number 17-2016. It is an ordinance of the Township Committee of the Township of Hanover, amending Article 2, entitled Noise Control, under Chapter 184 of the Code of the Township, entitled Noise. And this ordinance will, when adopted, accept the model ordinance from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection concerning noise emissions. The ordinance will be further considered for public hearing and final passage at the Township Committee meeting on May 26th. And at that time, any person wishing to be heard concerning ordinance 17-2016 will be given the opportunity to be heard. The ordinance and the notice of introduction will appear in full in the daily record in accordance with law. So at this time, may we have a motion to introduce ordinance 17-2016?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Bruno.
Second.
Second by Mr. Capola. On roll call, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Ferramaska.
Aye.
So introduced. Ladies and gentlemen, we now have for consideration of adoption ordinance number 15-2016. This ordinance would amend and supplement Chapter 166 of the Code, entitled Land Use and Development Legislation, by amending and supplementing the regulations for gas service, motor vehicle repair, and maintenance establishments. The ordinance was submitted to the Morris County Department of Planning and Public Works in accordance with the municipal land use law. We have noticed that it has been properly filed. It was also submitted to the Planning Board for review and recommendation. And the ordinance also appeared in full with the notice of introduction in the April 20th issue of the Daily Record in accordance with law. Now, before we proceed to the public hearing, we have a letter recommendation from the Planning Board that reads as follows. It is dated May 10, 2016. Dear Mr. Giorgio, at its May 10, 2016 meeting, the Planning Board reviewed and discussed Ordinance 15-2016, which had been referred by the Township Committee as required by the Municipal Land Use Law at NJSA 40:55D-26A. The amendments proposed by Ordinance 15-2016 amend the regulations for gasoline stations and automotive repair garages. The Planning Board has reviewed Ordinance 15-2016 and compared its provisions with the recommended policies in the land use element of the master plan. Although largely consistent, the Board has identified some inconsistencies between Ordinance 15-2016 and the policies in the master plan. Following are the areas of inconsistency. 1. Ordinance 15-2016 would permit gasoline stations in the B, B1, BP, BP2, IB, and IB3 zone districts. In the land use element of the master plan, gasoline stations are recommended to be permitted in the B, BP, and IB3 zone districts, but not the B1, BP2, or IB zone districts. These inconsistencies exist for the following reasons. A, the land use element recommends elimination of the B1 and IB zone districts and replacing these zones with the B zone district. Thus, although there is a discrepancy in the zone districts, the locations of the zone districts are the same, at least in the case of the B1 and IB zones. B, in the case of the BP2 zone, a gasoline station currently exists as a result of variance granted by the Board of Adjustment for the site of a former gasoline station. Ordinance 15-2016 would recognize and permit this gasoline station as of right and not simply by virtue of the variance and in the same location. 2, Ordinance 15-2016 would permit motor vehicle repair or maintenance establishments in the B, BP1, and IB zone districts. In the land use element of the master plan, motor vehicle repair shops and public garages are recommended to be permitted in the B zone, and motor vehicle stations, defined in the ordinance as gasoline stations with or without motor vehicle repair, are recommended in the IB3 zone. Repair shops are not recommended in the B1 or IB zone districts. The inconsistencies concerning the B1 and IB zones exist for the same reasons as described above for gasoline stations. The inconsistency concerning the IB3 zone is technical in nature and arises due to a different meaning for the term motor vehicle service stations in the master plan and ordinance. In the master plan, the term is intended to mean gasoline stations and not repair garages. Notwithstanding these inconsistencies, the Planning Board recommends the adoption of ordinance number 15-2016 as introduced. Most of the inconsistencies are technical in nature only. The Board intends to revise the master plan to eliminate the only substantial discrepancy, that concerning gasoline stations in the BP2 zone in the near future. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on ordinance 15-2016. Very truly yours, Gene Pinadella, Chairman, on behalf of the Planning Board. So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, may we have a motion to convene the public hearing?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Faramaska, seconded by Mr. Gallagher. On roll call for the public hearing, Mr. Gallagher?
Aye.
Mr. Bruno?
Aye.
Mr. Capola?
Aye.
And Mr. Faramaska?
Aye.
Is there anyone present wishing to be heard concerning ordinance number 15-2016?
Motion to close?
Second.
We have a motion to close and second. On roll call to close the public hearing, Mr. Gallagher?
Aye.
Mr. Bruno?
Aye.
Mr. Capola?
Aye.
And Mr. Faramaska?
Aye.
Now on adoption, be it resolved that an ordinance entitled an ordinance of the Township Committee of the Township of Hanover, amending and supplementing Chapter 166 of the Code, entitled Land Use and Development Legislation, by amending the regulations for gasoline stations and motor vehicle repair and maintenance establishments, be passed on final reading, and that a notice of the public hearing of the final passage of the ordinance be published in the Morris County Daily Record on May 18, 2016. We now have a motion on adoption.
So moved. Second.
So moved. Moved by Mr. Capola, seconded by Mr. Bruno. On roll call for adoption, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Faramaska.
Aye.
So adopted. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue, there are no further ordinances for public hearing at this time. We move on to the resolutions as a consent agenda on page 1 and 2. Are there any questions on resolutions A through H? from the township? We have a
Second.
motion by Mr. Capola, seconded by Mr. Gallagher. On roll call for adoption and approval of the consent agenda of resolutions, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Faramaska.
Aye.
And we have two raffle applications on consent agenda. Raffle application 2923, the Calais Foundation, and on-premise 50/50. And raffle application 2924, Elizabeth Ann Seton Council, Knights of Columbus, for a tricky tray. Okay, we have a motion.
So
to
moved.
approve. We have
Second.
a motion and second on roll call. Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Abstain on Elizabeth Ann Seton.
Okay, Mr. Capola will abstain on raffle application 2924, but he will vote in
Yes.
favor of the Calais Foundation. And Mr. Faramaska.
Aye.
So approved, Payment of bills, we had a last-minute change on the payment of bills. So the amount to pay is $7,580,657.05.
Move to be approved.
We have a motion by Mr. Capola,
Second.
second by Mr. Ferramasca. On roll call to pay the bills, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Ferramasca.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Township Committee, that clears the agenda of the Township Clerk Administrator.
Thank you,
And I
Mr. Giorgio. At this time, if there's any members of the public who would like to address the Township Committee, please rise and state your name and your address.
Hi. Carol Fomchenko, Malapartis Road in Whippany. I have a question and then a request. Who has jurisdiction over the no turn on red that's at the corner right over here by the church, going north on Jefferson Road? There's a no turn on red.
Okay.
Who has jurisdiction? Is that the town or the county?
The Director of Public Safety, would you like to weigh in on this, or should we get our engineer?
I would think your engineer, I'm not familiar with who would have that.
What was the location again, Karen?
Right over here by the Ukrainian church, the no turn on red on Jefferson Road going north at the intersection of Route 10 going east.
Oh, at the Route 10 intersection?
Yeah.
That would be the state.
Oh, it would be the state?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. You know,
Yeah,
because...
If it involves the Route 10,
Yeah.
yes, it does.
Because for many years, you know, that the reason that was there was because of Kathy's Corner was so close to Route 10, you couldn't see 2 feet on who was coming. But now that everything has been demolished, we can see all the way down past 287. And I just thought as a suggestion, if we can get that sign removed now rather than later, it would certainly help alleviate some of the traffic going north that want to turn east on Route 10.
It's a good idea. Jerry, perhaps you
Yeah,
could float that by?
Yeah, absolutely. As you know, the whole intersection is being improved.
I know, but that might not happen
Sure.
for a year,
Well, okay.
give or
We can
take.
look at that. We can look at that.
Well, you're still talking about coming Jefferson Road, heading
North and making a right
onto
turn
Route 10.
onto Route 10 going east, because that's where all the traffic backs up.
No, it's a good suggestion, Mr.
Yeah, it's a
Musara.
busy
We'll
intersection.
bring it to the attention
Okay.
of
The problem
DOT.
is also that's a shared lane. It's not a dedicated right turn lane, so you have sometimes a vehicle that's going through.
That's going
obviously is
straight.
gonna back up that right turn.
Well, they're just going to have to wait, that's
Yeah,
all.
absolutely. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
do it now, right? Okay, thanks a lot.
But we can
Thank
look
you.
into that.
All right.
I don't like that.
Any other member of the public like to address the Township Committee at this time? Seeing none, may I have a motion to close this portion of the meeting?
So moved. Second?
Okay, at this time, if there's any business members of the Township Committee would like to communicate, starting with Mr. Gallagher.
Tomorrow night, we have Hanover Township's Big Night Out. It started 2 years ago as a volleyball tournament and a family picnic. And we didn't invent the idea. We got the idea from retired Deputy Chief Balkar, who said back in the old days, they had volleyball in the gyms at the school, all the families came out and had a great time, and we should do this again. So just like Chuck Berry always said about music, nobody ever really invents anything, they just borrow things from each other. So thank you very much, Deputy Chief Balkar, for sharing that piece of history with us. I just want to share the companies and the organizations that are working with us, because it's getting bigger, better, and stronger. First and foremost, it's the Substance Awareness Council, working with the Cedar Knolls Fire Department, the Whippany Fire Department, and of course Hanover Township Police Department. We have the Morris County Sheriff's Department. I'm hearing firsthand that we have the SWAT team coming down to do a demo for our children, and also possibly the bomb squad. We have American Martial Arts. We have the Knights of Columbus. We have the Rotary. We have Schmeed's Music, Cheer Pride, Party Pleasing Rentals, Legacy Gym, which has a ninja program, Hanover Storm Hockey, Tigers Nation Football and Cheer, and all the food is going to be donated by Wegmans and, of course, prepared by the Knights of Columbus, because nobody prepares hot dogs like the Knights of Columbus, and we know that. And we have one of our big cooks up here right now. So that's tomorrow night, 7 to 9 at Whippany Park High School. Everything is free. And the last thing I want to say is I took a picture of it last week, and I tried to share it, but I was having a problem with my phone. but I rode through Salem Drive School, and I saw him in at from the DPW getting the fields ready for the weekend. And I just want to say thank you very much for the detail they put in. A lot of people don't realize this, but they lift up the bleachers, they cut under the bleachers, they put the bleachers back down, and they've been paying a lot of attention to the high grass around our paths and our fields, because that is typically where all the ticks are. So we park our bikes, we have families standing by the woods. Our men have been working very hard, the fields are beautiful, and before you know it, hopefully they'll be getting ready for the Memorial Day Parade.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher.
That's it, John.
Mr. Bruno?
A lot going on in recreation. First of all, we had the fishing contest last week. Unfortunately, it rained. We didn't have a rain date. Next year, we will have a rain date, so the fishermen don't have to stand outside in the rain. But more importantly, there's over 300 trout that were put into the big pond at the Brickyard, and I think we caught a total of 16 or 18. So if you're inclined to fish and eat some trout, go right over to the Brickyard Pond. There's plenty of trout remaining. This Saturday, lots going on. In addition to Mr. Gallagher's big night out, we have Family Health Day on Saturday morning starting at 8 o'clock over at the Rec Center. Over 20 exhibitors, as well as four-time Olympian Joetta Clark Diggs. She's also in the New Jersey Hall of Fame. So it's Family Health Day. As I said, there'll be prizes, giveaways, all kinds of exhibits on eating healthy, being healthy, living a healthy lifestyle. Come over to the Rec Center. If you're not inclined to do that, starting at 1 o'clock, we have a Healthy in Hanover walk. It's going to take place rain or shine, and we thank Roberta and Alan Foster for spearheading that initiative. It's going to be over in Cedar Knolls this week. And as I said, if for whatever reason you can't get out of bed for family health, then take a healthy walk. Summer camp is underway. Registration in the Rec Center. It'll start June 27th. Bee Meadow Pool opens the Friday of Memorial Day, May 27th at 5 o'clock, grand opening. Little info on the fireworks will take place Wednesday, June 29th, right over here at Veterans Field and the Rec Center, same as last year. We'll have all kinds of activities going on. The DJs will be here, food trucks. That'll all start at 6 o'clock. And then 3 summer concerts this year, July 11th, July 17th, July 18th rather, and July 25th at the Brickyard. So lots going on in the rec department over the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Bruno. Mr. Coppola?
Yes. Veterans Alliance, that meeting Wednesday night. Again, I've said this in the past, but breakfast at 7 o'clock at the community center at 8:15. 8:30, the ceremony will start at the town hall. 9 o'clock, the buses will start bringing people over to the parade, which begins at 9:30. The VFW is selling poppies. They've been selling it for the last couple of weeks. You'll see them around town now, either at 7-Eleven, Quick Check, or some of the key spots, the Brookside Diner and so on. So if anyone, if you see someone, perhaps you might be buying one. The firemen had their 5K run this past week, and I have to tell you, Mother Nature wasn't too cooperative, but they had quite a day. And the one thing that should be noted is Wegmans donated all of the fruit, all of the water, all of the Gatorade, all of the bagels, and all the condiments that were with it. So, Wegmans is going to be a good neighbor, and you really look forward to having them, as part of our community. This Sunday, we have 4 young men who are going to become Eagle Scouts. I think that's quite a tribute. It seems like each and every year, we have more than one making them. This year to have 4 of them is really, that's the highest rank that a scout can make. So I think that's quite a tribute this Sunday at the community center. As far as public safety is concerned, our newest police officer, Stephen Manning, started in April. He's now out on the road being trained. The newest and final that will bring our complement up to our 30, Eric. He is due for a psychological evaluation tomorrow. Talked with the chief about it. If approved, he'll start on June 1st. The lieutenant exam is going to be occurring mid-June. So hopefully by the end of June, in July, we'll be looking at appointing a new lieutenant and then again, a new sergeant. So that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Capola. On behalf of the Township Committee, we would like to compliment the Hanover Green Team and Employment Horizons for conducting a very successful shred day. Nearly 1 ton of paper was taken out of the waste stream and recycled in a proper way, and much of that paper was confidential information. It was a free service to our township residents for anyone who had less than 30 pounds. Over 100 people took advantage of that, and it was a great success. Secondly, I just want to remind everybody about the Hanover E-Blast. The Hanover E-Blast is working out very, very well. People are very, very pleased with it, and they are gathering more and more enrollment each day. So again, you can get to the Hanover E-Blast by visiting the township's website, or this piece of paper which I have. If you have a smartphone, you could use your QR code reader, and you automatically sign up that way. Lastly and importantly, just a reminder, the trees in Hanover Township in certain parts of our town are ash trees. The ash trees are under very much distress this season due to something called the emerald ash borer, or called EAB. There's information on the township's website about EAB, and we just recommend that you counsel that website, look at it, the information, and make a determination as to what you want to do best for the ash tree that's on your property. At this time, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, thank you. That concludes this portion of the Township Committee's meeting. Gentlemen, we have one more issue that we need to cover in work session. Good job, John. You got out here a lot earlier. Thank you. Jerry,